Burrell.
What did you do?
Hugh Burrell.
Here I
Welcome
am.
to 2 red chairs.
Hello.
Yeah.
Lovely to see you. I'm here to give you a talking to, Kieran. Now, what did you do?
Well, you know what? I just like people who do stuff. People who are actually inspirational and do shit instead of talking shit up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can talk some shit if I have to, but like I prefer doing shit, metaphorically and literally.
Hey, so you've shall we kill the elephant in the room?
Yeah, let's kill it.
All right. Before we say anything, can I do a little show and tell? Let me just do
please.
it. Let me just do it.
Not the picture I sent you last night. Not the first one.
Oh no, not that one. Why not?
I mean, it is a full moon tonight, apparently, so it is appropriate.
Oh, that one. No, not that one. Not that one. Is there anything that's off topic, by the way? Is there anything that we can't talk about with your latest adventure, by the way?
Nah, it's all good. I mean,
all right.
it's an
cool.
adult crowd. I don't know. Talking about drugs sometimes is a little bit like.
Well,
I
I mean,
think that
obviously,
the audience probably will.
But you've been on such huge painkillers, and so it'd be really cool to talk about the pros and cons of being on morphine for such an immense, huge injury. All right, I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag now. Hugh, show us your puppet. Show us your puppet hand. How pretty is that? How pretty is that, huh?
I was. Sorry, I misheard you.
I was just saying, how pretty is that? Do you want to turn your volume up on your phone? Or you're good?
Can I? Let me just check if it's not up already.
Yeah. Well, look.
I mean,
here's what I'll do.
It's as high as it goes. It's just
okay.
if I talk over you, I can't hear. That's all.
It's okay. Talking over me is highly recommended. All the cool people do it. So, V, if you want to switch to camera B for a sec. Here's the thing. Hugh had a little bit of a mishap recently. Hugh works on making huge, giant robot installation type things and ended up doing this. Not comfortable. That's actually not a Halloween costume. That is Hugh. It's a photo Hugh took of himself, I assume, while waiting for an ambulance. Of which bone is that sticking out of your wrist, buddy?
It's the larger one of your forearm bones. I don't know what it's called. The one which wasn't supposed to be broken in half.
Yeah, none of those are really meant to be broken in half. So, as I just cut back to you, so yes, you want to tell us what happened now that we've lost half our audience?
Yeah, it's a pretty horrifying picture. I was working on an artwork that kind of like my current opus, really. It's called the 5 Elements Orrery, which is a word which no one knows what it means, but it is a mechanical depiction of a solar system. Mm-hmm. And this is a big machine that turns above you. It's very pretty, and it was to go into a show 3 days after the accident occurred, which I didn't make it, of course. But I was working on a steel lathe. A steel lathe is a large rotational machine. Did I send you a picture of it?
Yeah. I'll just go to the picture of it while you're talking about it. Tell us about it, and I'll go to the pic.
So they had a bit of steel in that machine rotating at like 700 RPM, which is revolutions per minute, or 1100. Anyway, it was fast. And I was wearing gloves while I was working on it, which is something you should never do in a rotating machine. I knew this, but also when you're working on your own and you kind of like, doing it for ages, things slip your mind and you make mistakes. And this was certainly a costly mistake. My finger got close to the machine, then got caught. And I was really close in as I was working on it because I was looking at what I was doing. And like something happened and I felt like a very big jarring or a bang. And then I looked at my arm and I could see like my bone pointing at me and my honestly, I couldn't even tell what was my arm there anymore. I knew that I was stuck in the machine. The machine was jammed and screaming like a robot, and
So hang
I
on.
obviously had
So
done
your
something
arm
horrible
was,
to myself.
so your arm was able to jam that machine. I've just shown the picture of you standing next to the machine.
Yeah, so apparently it shouldn't have been able to jam it, and the only reason that it could was that the machine has like a faulty part, like a slipping clutch, and really it should have ripped my arm totally off, or like continued to pull me through,
And flip you around.
head. Well, no, it would have just ripped my body. I would have been dead, very dead. So I was very lucky that it was broken.
Yeah, you said
I guess.
it wrapped around the machine 3 times.
Yeah, well, so they had to turn it to get it out because as I was stuck in there, I realized that. Dude, just one second. Hey Joel, can you try and be quiet? I'm just recording something. When I realized I was stuck, I had to turn off the machine because it was still running, and there's various places to do that, but when you're sort of half disappeared inside of a machine, your access to those places is obviously reduced dramatically. So I was kind of flailing around with this arm, which was my arm, which was available, trying to touch something. I couldn't touch anything, and then I was flailing around with my right hand leg to try and touch something. There was a foot brake there, but I couldn't get to it also. I don't think it was working at the time, which is obviously another problem, but unrelated somewhat. And then eventually I moved my left leg and I bumped the stop button with my knee, which was fantastic.
So the stop button, hang on. I'm just having a look at the photo of it now that you sent me yesterday. Oh, there's the stop button. Okay.
You see the red dot? The red button
I see the red button. So you managed to get that while your while your left arm was wrapped around the machine.
I couldn't see it. I just was wiggling my left leg and I managed to bump it. I think there was a lot of luck in that also, because I don't know, I was wrestling with it. Like the clutch was kind of screaming, it was going like, woo, woo, and I'm like, yelling as you do when you think you're dying. And when I stopped it, I had to get out of it because I was obviously very stuck. So I with my other hand, I turned the bit of steel back.
How is this?
I turned in one direction, whichever it was that got me out of there. I turned the steel like 3 times around, and that let me get my arm out. And when my arm was out, I could stand up, and my arm just flopped by my side I don't know. It felt like just a wet sausage, to be honest, and a bunch of blood splattered out on the floor
Wow.
You wouldn't believe. That was horrible.
So, I mean, how is this for you to talk about? I mean, I know you're a mechanical guy, and you're someone who, here's a system, put it together. I don't know you well enough to know if you get. I mean, I can't imagine what you've gone through, but I also am amazed at how you can talk about it with such matter-of-factness and clarity.
I've talked about it a lot, and I think I was told, maybe a bit of both, that at the start I had horrible PTSD, every moment I'd close my eyes, I'd flinch because I'd be back there and I'd be at the point where I got caught, and it went so fast, it happened in a second, or half a second, or a tenth of a second. It was everything's fine. Oh my God, my bone's pointing at me. And that, not even the pain, because it wasn't pain, because it was so, I think I was instantly in shock. It was just
adrenaline.
I guess the horror that I realized that I was in that situation. And that flinching seemed to be talking about to people. And I assaulted everyone in the hospital who would hear the story with it. And any of my friends, everyone loves a gory story, luckily. But talking about it and talking about it seemed to bring down my fear or
The
horror
the, the, the,
with.
the residual shock from it.
Yeah, and this is also why part of why I'm keen to talk about it now, because this is like a really big or a public way to talk about it, and maybe that even helps more.
Yeah. What would you I mean, we'll talk more about your injury in a minute, but like I say, I'm intrigued that the way you can talk about it is so clear and matter of fact, and obviously, you know, you're doing some work to get through that. What do you prefer people concentrate on or ask about when it comes to your injury? Obviously, there's going to be, how did you get out, or what was broken, or this or that, or would you prefer that people are asking how your rehabilitation's going first? What do you prefer people ask you about?
I really don't mind. I'm like happy to tell the gory story over again.
Cheeks,
I mean,
dicks,
I'm getting
scars.
better at it. I'm getting better at it, telling it. I'm happy to talk about the rehab. I'm enjoying the rehab because it's taking me somewhere from, like, forward from the injury, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you get to
So
another step,
maybe
so
it's,
you're not reflecting on what could have been and what's happening. You're actually working to future stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely not over it. It's not like I'm like, yeah.
This was only
Let me
3.5
tell you
weeks ago,
something.
wasn't it? 3.5, 4 weeks ago?
It was 29th of February. You know that day that only happens once every 5 years because it doesn't exist? That day.
At least you don't have to relive that on your timeline, because every 4 years, right?
Yeah, right? That's good.
So let me just go back to a picture of one of your shots you sent me last night. Of your arm looks like a Christmas ham. You're in the hospital. You've got all sorts of things strapped to it. You're looking down at it. And you're taking all these photos of your arm yourself too. So I've just got that on the screen. You want to tell me what I'm looking at here? There's scaffolding in it and all sorts of stuff.
That was in between surgeries. That was, my arm was broken, like above, like at my shoulder. It was snapped here, and it was snapped and like totally mutilated here. I have a skin graft on my arm here, which is covering the hole basically where there was no skin. But the good thing about snapping it here and here is that my elbow was fine, my shoulder was fine, my hand was fine.
Oh, of course, because your elbow went round the curve because your elbow could curve.
Yeah, and my hand was in a glove and it kind of went round the pipe, like it went round like that too. So
yeah,
that was like lucky, because if it had gone around backwards, obviously it would have broken every bone in it. So there's lots of luck in this terrible injury.
Yeah, I remember the first communication you put up on Facebook, which was your X-rays, 2 shots of your X-rays, and the shot of you sitting in the hospital in the chair. And I'm just looking at those X-rays, and I dare say most people like me are just looking at it going, man, you should be dead. How did you walk away from this? How did it not pull you into the machine and chew up your chest and all that sort of stuff? So what you're saying is ultimately you were saved by a mechanical fault in the machine, because I dare say you're probably steel that thing's designed to mill is a little tougher than you, or apparently not.
Well, yeah, it should have been. But also part of why I survived was the amazing quickness of the ambulance which arrived. Like,
You said it was.
So I got myself out of the machine. I wound the machine flopped by my side, and I was like, my phone was just about 5 meters away, playing some tunes as you do when you're working.
Oh God, you'll never forget what that tune is.
I forget. I really do. But so I just knew that I had to get to the phone and call the ambulance. So I was like, in my mind, apart from like instantly, I was like, oh man, I've blown it on so many levels for so many people apart from me. Instantly, I was just thinking that. I was all the responsibilities and stuff that I couldn't do and was going to be an issue. Like, for some reason, that's the first thing that fell on me. While that was happening in my head, of course, you can do a million things in your mind at once. So I was like, I got to get to an ambulance. As long as an ambulance arrives while I'm still conscious, I'll probably be able to live through this, because I don't know what's going on here, but like, doctors today, amazing, right? So I got onto the phone and I called the ambulance, and they were like, trying to say, God, get here right now as soon as you can, but like it's kind of sounding like a strangled high pitched version of myself. Like I guess because there was so much tension or squeezing on my chest, it kind of changed what it sounded like. I remember sounding very odd for the first couple of days in hospital, but I was on the phone to them, and I was like crouching down next to the forklift, which the phone had been in, talking to them with it in my lap, my arm, because it wasn't an arm. And also because when I moved my shoulder, it was just like not connected to anything. It's like it was flopping. Kind of like cradling it in my lap seemed like appropriate, because at least it was with me, part of me.
Yeah.
So I'm on the phone, and this mess is in my lap, and I'm crouching on the ground, and I'm talking to them, and they're like, I'm telling them the address, but I'm right at the back of our factory, which is like 200 meters from the car park, which is where the road is. And I'm like, just had the thought while I was talking to her and communicating, I ripped off my arm and like, get here with an ambulance. Jesus, God damn, help me. But I needed to get closer to the road. So in the middle of the phone call to the lady, I jumped in the forklift and drove it to near the car park, to like maybe 150, 200 meters. Because there they could see me from the road easily. So I was gonna drop the phone, jumped in the forklift and drove it, picked it up. She was still on the line, and I was talking to her, and I kept just asking her, when are they arriving? When are they arriving? Are they coming? Are they coming? Because I just needed to know that they were, and I don't know, this felt like it took a long time. Hey, like 15 minutes, half an hour is what I've been telling people. Like the ambulance, eventually I saw it on the road, and they like came in and arrived. I'll tell you about like the next part in a second.
Yeah.
I thought that took ages recently, because I had a record of that call. It took 7 minutes from when I called them to when they arrived.
So I think what I'm picking up on here is that when you've ripped off your arm, 7 minutes feels like a half hour.
Yeah, or an hour or longer. Sorry, I got the emotions.
Whoa, that's out there.
Yeah, they did a very quick job of arriving, and like they got there and put me on I got on the.
You've got. Looks like you got a call.
Did I? Can I stop it? Has it stopped yet? Was it vibing at you?
No, we've lost the picture. Do you want to?
Yep.
Okay.
I can fix.
Yeah, you can fix it. Cool. Hey V, are you switching during this? Yeah, but have you been switching on and off? Cool, thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, as I look at the wide camera, ladies and gentlemen, up in the TV switch room, Miss Valeria Baselli, who is not only a 5-star vegan chef, but also a pretty darn good live television switcher. Hey, there you go, Hugh. You're good, man. You're back now, buddy.
It was my medication not telling me to do an exercise. Oh well.
Did you? Did you do it?
Nah, I mean, I have to take off my cast and do my things, but that's all right.
Actually, you really just left to brush your hair just for a minute, didn't you? I just came back, saw you through all your hair there.
Yeah, that was a hair brushing appointment with myself. You're right.
You were saying, okay, so the ambulance has got there. I mean, for a start, okay, you haven't bled out. It's been a bunch of, so you haven't bled out. You've driven 200 meters in a forklift. You've been on the phone for all this time. The fact that you survived, that's enough. So anyway, so the ambulance has turned up, and you're there in a forklift with what's left of your arm in your lap. What happens?
Yeah, let me just take you back for a second, because
sure,
I was sitting in there. I was sitting on the forklift with my arm in my lap, which was obviously, it wasn't squirting like Hollywood style, like, whatever you call it when it's arterial blood, it wasn't happening.
Well, if that had happened, you probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah, I wonder if because I twisted it so well,
that it
so much tension,
the
that kind of like tourniquet myself a bit. I don't know.
I've heard that's what happens with all sorts of injuries. It pinches the
arteries.
Also, I could
hear this like bubbling, like this. and I didn't know what it was at the time. It turns out I'd punctured my chest cavity as well in the accident. But I mean, that was by the by. It wasn't that bad. Obviously, that can also kill you, but it was above my lung, so it wasn't like filling up my lung. So that was just something else which happened. But the ambulance arrived very quickly. It's amazing, in 7 minutes, which blows my mind, to be honest. And I kind of got there, and like, you know, any measure of hope I had, it was totally gone by that stage. And
Sorry,
like,
any measure
you know,
of
the
what?
idea of holding it together.
Ah, right, okay.
But because like I knew I had to, like, I was just like sitting there and like trying to stay focused and breathe and like on the phone to the lady and not trying to pass out. I figured that, I don't know, passing out always seems like it leads to dying, or it's on the way to it, you know. So I was like,
oh, geez, yes. I've been in situations where I've tried not to pass out, and I've had enough presence of thought to actually go, all right, I'm going to sit down so I don't hit the deck. But you know, you've just had to keep going. Holy shit. Okay, so what happened next? The ambulance turns up.
The ambulance turned up. I lay down in the stretcher. They're like, you know, what happened, mate? What'd you do? And I'm just like, I ripped my arm off in this machine back there. It's like all the way back there. Like, go and look. The police turned up really quickly as well. But like, I was with the ambulance guy. I was on the stretcher, and I was like, you got to give me something for this pain, man. It's out of this world. Like, God, help me with the pain. Like, please give me something for the pain. And he gives me something, and it wasn't doing very much. And I'm just like, why isn't it doing anything? And by this stage, I'm basically a blubbering idiot, I imagine. I'm just like, God,
yeah, the
help
shock
me.
set in.
Just
Yeah.
give me something to make me feel better. And there's like a field doctor, which the ambos have, which has like the good stuff. I'm not sure whether that's the morphine or the ketamine, but one of the two. Anyway, he came and he stuffed me full of the next thing. And by that stage, I started feeling a little bit less pain, but also I was so full of whatever I was on that I was just like totally loopy, which, you know, it's just fun if you're like not in horrible pain. This was like kind of in a horrible situation and feeling really weird. It was very surreal. Then they put me into the ambulance and drove like maniacs to the hospital. And you know when you're flashing lights and they're like driving over the bumps and like going like crazy, and you're like, is there someone actually in the back of that? That'd be insane if there is. It turns out there can be. And I was one of the guys. I was like in there so full of the drugs, strapped down to that thing. And I thought I was in a spaceship, and I was just like yelling, like, "Yeah, what are we doing? Oh my God, what's going on?" Like, that was my ambulance ride to the hospital. Like,
Holy shit! The fact you can remember that's amazing to me. The fact you can remember it.
Well, I blacked out. I think that I had the green whistle in the ambulance, and halfway through it, I blacked out. And I mean, to be honest, I'm glad, because it was not another pleasant part. It was like, you know, horrible accident, horrible pain, then like terrifying ambulance ride. Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
The next thing I knew, I woke up on the other side of the ER, and I had that scaffolding in my arm, which was because they put the plate and they connected this bone back together with the screws, but
Yeah.
here they just put the scaffolding in externally to kind of like somewhat hold the bones in place, but like I hadn't done the surgery yet. I had 3 surgeries in about 3 days.
Whoa.
After the second surgery, which is just part of my, you know, horrible adventure, I guess, because they have you on, like, I was on IV ketamine and IV morphine, like a lot of it, and I was basically hallucinating for those 3 days constantly, you know, which is kind of cool, but also by the end of it I was a bit exhausted because I couldn't sleep because I was too high, I guess. But after the second surgery, because I was in there for so long, all my pain meds had worn off. Yeah. And I woke up to, like, I'd say that, you know, when you have, you know, that how much pain do you have, 1 to 10?
Yeah.
I call my accident a 10 because
you're a mechanically thinking person and you know you can't get past 10.
yeah, that was the most. And then when I woke up out of that surgery, all of my pain meds had worn off. And the pain I woke up to then, I reckon, was a 20. Like, it was so excruciating. It was out of this world. I just started like screaming like a stuck pig in the recovery room. And they gave me stuff pretty quickly. It wasn't funny. That's the thing I'm laughing at, is that they're wheeling this like old lady into surgery as I was screaming in recovery.
Oh God!
And I just thought and thinking, she was thinking, God, what the fuck are they going to do to me in there? So that was the only funny.
You've just had your arms scaffolded back together, and at the time you're thinking about the impression you're making on a poor little old lady.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a fleeting thought, I guess, but it was definitely one that occurred. Yeah, that 20 of pain was pretty scarring. I thought the hospital was trying to kill me, and that they were all out to get me after that. And
well, that's because of all the hallucinogens you're on too, huh? And the lack of sleep.
Oh yeah, I mean, I needed a family or a friend holding my hand pretty much 24 hours for the next. I don't know. It was not for the whole time I was in hospital. Like the last 4 days, I was kind of back into on my own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't.
Yeah.
But well, actually, I was, because I was starting to walk and go to the toilet on my own. But yeah, I needed my hand held pretty much 24 hours a day, and I had family or a friend to do that for all that time, which was so so touching and really so moving, and made me feel so loved. Like all the visits and the flowers, and
yeah.
I gotta like shake myself out of crying here because I want to try and talk.
Hey, it's quite all right to be, mate. If there's anything to be emotional about, it's this sort of stuff. It's
yeah, I just want to tell you the story. I don't want to like just sob on camera. I can do that if you like.
No. This is, look, hey, there's no rules, but I think what I hope a lot of people get out of hearing your story from you is a lot of people get a lot of attention these days for being a big blubbery mess about stuff that maybe doesn't feel like it's that important to other people. And there are people who I think have all the right to be a big blubbery mess about stuff, who don't want to clutter up the space with that because all these other people seem to need it more than me. You know what I mean? So yeah. So I think without no one who's been through anything you've been through wants to big note themselves, but I think that there's something good that contextualizes how to deal with stuff, and how I think is a good way to show people what's important and what's not, without standing on a soapbox and without telling people what they're going through is not worth anything. But really, maybe if you have a look at the bigger picture, yeah. Hey, I'm going to at this juncture go to another shot of maybe of your beautiful arm. I'm now looking at a shot of what looks like a zombie arm after that looks like it's maybe after a second or third surgery. All the scaffolding is gone, and you got all stitches in it, and it's all kind of the skin graft is there, and the staples in it.
Oh, yep, that was probably the first time I saw the skin graft. Is it with my arm like this?
Yeah, if you're holding your arm out in front of you, I'm looking at the picture on full screen at the moment, but yeah, let's just say it's a good. Yeah, and here's a nicer shot of you where you're actually smiling next to the arm. The skin graft is all healing up. This is probably maybe even yesterday. I know it's you're in a hospital, so this is probably only maybe a week ago or something. It's all looking. It's like it's scabbing over quite happily, which is good. It's yeah. I'm back on you now. Yeah. So, what happens from here? You've been doing rehab. What have you got? Were both hands injured or just one? Did you? Because I know you've got one horrible hand, but the other hand was okay.
This guy's my magic hand now.
Okay, I saw the
mean,
Band-Aid on your thumb and I thought you might have had an issue there. You get a splinter or something?
no. This is just coronavirus and having to deal with like washing my hands as much as I do. I have like very sensitive skin. I don't like it.
So you're doing rehab. Are you okay to talk about the prognosis for, getting all this happening?
But look, I was in the middle of saying how touched I was by all my visitors in hospital, and I'll go back to that.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was just giving you some space to bail out in case you didn't want to, in case you didn't have any Kleenex. No, go on.
Nah, like if I tell it linear, then it's like the story's done. You know what I mean?
All right, cool. So you're in hospital,
Like,
and you had.
but also I've had the space from it now.
Okay.
I just had lots of visitors. I had so many people reaching out with so much love. It totally blew my mind. Like a little bit of a weird recluse, even though I'm like quite an extrovert when I'm in public or have been. It's been a bit of a journey, to be honest. So like, to be reminded of how loved and valued I am, I guess, was incredibly heartwarming, like mind-blowing actually. And the amount of flowers I got, and I mean, I got a 2-man like Django Reinhardt style like live band come and play for me when I was in hospital. Like it was.
Oh my God! And Django Reinhardt, of course, only had 3 working fingers after an injury in the First World War. Did you know that?
Wow, did he?
Django Reinhardt, amazing jazz guitarist. He had his thumb and 2 fingers and played all that with 2 fingers.
Amazing.
There's a link you weren't expecting.
I'm hearing a lot of amazing stories about like miracles of recovery. But yeah, so like the time in hospital was horrible, but all the love they got was just like literally got me through it. Like hospital was gross. I couldn't move. I had to keep my arm like this constantly because of swelling.
Yeah.
And I also had to lie in the same position, which meant I left hospital with a lovely like button ball rash, which like I've almost taken care of now, but like it's been a journey, and like, oh my God, like talk about the worst parts of hospital you never talk about. Oops, I talked about it. Oh well. Anyway, so I finally got out of there. Oh yeah, when I had the band play for me at hospital, Alex, my wife, brought in my fluffy puppy dogs, and I got to cuddle them for the first time, and like, I thought of never seeing them again would have broken my heart. And also to mention that in my family and friends looking after me, of course, Alex, my wife, was too, and she spent countless days by my side to the point of her like basically falling over from like sleep deprivation. So like she gave me so much love also and support. So I just wanted to mention that, of course. Anyway, so now we're in rehab.
Yeah.
We're here. We made it. I got out of hospital. I couldn't do anything for the first week or 2 out of hospital, and I just like had my hand like in this position, which now this is a cast which is setting that, but I'm allowed to take it off, which is great. And 5 times a day I have these exercises now. But I'll show you in a second.
Sure.
I ripped off in the accident. I kind of obliterated everything in this zone. The surgeon said it took them 2 hours to identify what the different parts were of my arm, like what the muscles were or whatever.
What they should have looked like in the book versus what they got in front of them in the studio.
Yeah, and like there's this like tissue membrane between your 2 bones which separates the things left and right, and that was gone, and everything was mixed up together. Something like a dog's breakfast, I guess. So what they ended up being able to do was connect one muscle to the front of my hands, like.
And your hand, you got out of it with your hand because, I'm looking at your hand. Yeah. Your hand looks great.
Yeah, so like there's a bit of a scar here, but my hand was inside of a glove, and kind of like which protected it also. It kind of all the damage ended up being in this zone, so I don't know how that happened really. Yeah. I was lucky.
So they've identified all the bits and pieces.
Sorry?
So they identified all the bits and pieces to start putting the puzzle back together?
They did, but obviously that didn't, they reconnected an artery which was severed. they found the muscle which was connected to one of my nerves, which was like twisted all the way around here, because everything was twisted around a long way.
Wow.
One of my nerves was totally fine. One of my nerves was bruised badly, and my other nerve was totally severed. And like, nerves do a lot of things with controlling your arms, right? Your hand, or your muscles, or your movement. So that's having a severed nerve, and this nerve is severed basically back here. They said they were looking for it, and they were looking for it up here, they're looking for it down here, and they eventually had to go to a textbook like for basic anatomy to be like, so where should the nerve be if it's like back here? And then they went that way and found it.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, it's here. It's here is where the nerve ends. And then up here, 12 centimeters away, is where the rest of it starts.
Okay.
Which is like a huge gap, which means that all of my intrinsic movement in my hand, which is all the little muscles,
Yeah.
and like some of the muscle which allows you to make your fingers go straight, and also like this stuff, so like finger guns.
Yeah.
I don't have that. I have a surgery coming up in a week or so, where they're going to take a nerve from my leg, which is from my heel all the way up to my knee. Like, they take out that whole nerve, which means a bit of my foot goes numb, but like, whatever. And then they triple that up in this gap. And then over the next year, 1 millimeter per day, this nerve will grow towards my hand. And maybe when it gets there, it'll reach some of the muscles, which will allow it to do some of the stuff it used to do. Probably not, because that amount of time, the receptors which it's trying to get to will die. But what it will do is hopefully stop the nerve pain, which is why I'm on so many goddamn
right,
morphine.
because that nerve that's cut off down in your elbow is sending you the message. Ah!
Yeah, like it makes my hand like be like kind of like electric fire in the palm of my hand and in my fingers constantly. And when the painkillers wear, it becomes my whole arm starts feeling like that. They say it's like next to me in hospital was an amputee, like he was missing his leg, and he said he had the same pain. So it's like severed nerves cause this horrible pain. You know when you bump your funny bone and you get that like numb electric like weirdness and it's really horrible?
Yep.
That's the feeling that I have. Imagine you severed your funny bone and you had that amplified maybe by 100 or 1,000 and constant.
You know what?
That's the pain.
That's made me get shivers more than seeing your bone sticking out of your arm. Bone sticking out of the arm, a mechanical thing, I get it. That doesn't get me like this. But the thought of having that funny bone feeling and fire hand the whole time, that you're dealing with that in such good grace is freaking amazing, dude. I mean, hats off to you. What else is a person going to do? But
it's probably
I'm not
the
easily
worst.
impressed, but I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Just don't go to
Thank
that
you.
sort of trouble to impress me again.
Yeah, mate. Well, I was doing my best, obviously.
So I see
basically-
also when you're talking, sometimes those fingers you're moving up in normal movement in your conversation. So I can see you've got some movement there.
So let me explain. I have one muscle connected to them instead of 4,
Okay.
because there was only one, and on the back I have one muscle instead of 4. So like I'll never have this,
Right.
but like I'll have this,
Okay.
which is a gift because I was not going to have a hand. But like also I don't have it's the ulnar nerve which allows. Hold on. It's the ulnar nerve which allows you to straighten your fingers, and I don't have that. So I'll have a claw hand is what they describe it as, which is, fucking doctors and their lack of, what do you call it when you have lots of words? I don't have as many as I do sometimes normally now.
Vocabulary?
Vocabulary, yeah, but there's a much more eloquent way to say it. Maybe
That's
doctors
the wrong
lack
show
of
for that.
Yeah. Anyway, so I've got a claw hand, which means this is kind of what the doctors are saying. This is what I'll have. I'll be able to do this, and like maybe I'll be able to close my thumb a bit, and that's about as good as I can expect to get back to. And also my gripping strength, because there's heaps less muscles there. While your normal hand has maybe 35 kilos of grip, I'll have like 5 kilos, maybe 10 if I'm really lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, don't worry, you can do heaps with that kind of hand. And right now, as an assistive stump, it's pretty handy. So, I mean, I think
you just said that your hand was pretty handy.
Yeah, well, yeah. Sorry, I'm clearly not. My stand-up is not as good as it could be right now, and I make no apologies.
Good, none accepted.
So I'm doing rehab now, and this is what I've got so far. I can move my wrist to there and up. This is my exercises, and then my other exercise is moving my fingers and go up and down, and also I can turn my wrist. And this is that's the range of movement I've got.
Mm.
This is like my second week of doing this stuff, and also like just the range of movement in my fingers. I have to exercise them like that because I can't do it.
And stretch them out, okay. And do they feel numb, or can you feel that?
It varies. It increases in pain to excruciating with my thumb. And it's like what I'm doing is breaking up the scar tissue in the muscle, which is healing down here.
Right.
Because if I don't do that, this lump of scar tissue will form, which means I never have movement in it.
Yeah.
And like, it's funny to say that it gets to excruciating pain, considering how full of morphine I am.
Yeah.
I'm like, if this is excruciating now, I guess it would just be like literally impossible otherwise.
On the subject of morphine, can I just say, Hugh has put the chair there, put the camera on a stand, set it up, got the lighting happening, with one hand on huge scads of morphine in pain. You're setting a new benchmark for how much trouble I expect people to go to for me on camera on the show.
I know, right? Like, 2 hands ain't no excuse for anything, I reckon. That's also not fair and true. Own experiences of life, and like, also like my 10 of pain is different to someone else's 10 of pain. So like, comparisons can be useful, but also they should only be used to enable people, not to like bring them down.
Well, comparisons are useful for a scope to understand what someone's going through. If I'm, but
absolutely.
Not to compare someone else's pain or experience, but just to give you a framework to explain your own. How's that?
Yeah, that's good. Just because like there's so many different forms of suffering, and having this level of suffering now, to understand that if someone else is saying that they are suffering, for me to be like, yeah, wow, like suffering is the worst.
Yeah,
I understand that you don't, and no one is having a good time of that. And like, I think I was pretty suffering free physically before this, and I didn't have much of an appreciation of pain. Like, I broke my arm when I was a kid.
Yep.
Probably hurt. But like, experiencing actual pain, and also like this acute pain that I have, when this becomes perpetual, that becomes chronic pain. So understanding that anyone who has chronic pain, which like seems like a lot of women do for like endometriosis reasons, or like back pain reasons, which they are tracking down the reasons for, for them to be experiencing chronic pain and to understand what they're dealing with, like, and the idea of just that I have this perpetual pain now is like, wow, like my eye-opening, I guess.
You remember Dan Mack, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
He had this, aside from ripping off his own arm in a skidoo, in a snowmobile accident, he also has this degenerative condition in his spine where his vertebrae just dissolve away. And so that's why when I first met him about 5 years ago, he was always on his back. He was always lying down. How do you... I don't know how well you know Dan, but he... what do you think of the idea where someone like him has spent years figuring out how to reprogram his own brain to be able to deal with that pain and be able to get off drugs? I know it's early days for you yet. I guess what I'm asking is, people are going to come to you and say, oh, have you heard this? Have you heard that? And all you're trying to do is get through your fucking day. So,
No,
two
I've
part
heard of
question:
that.
what do you think of that sort of thing? And B, do you just want people to keep their advice to themselves, or are you going to continue to be gracious and just go, "It's so nice you care," and just suck it up? How are you gonna handle that?
When I'm in a good mood, I'm very gracious, and I love being in a good mood because it normally means that my pain levels are being dealt with and I haven't had a horrible day at the time.
Yeah.
I'm always happy for advice. And okay, first part, like in hospital, the pain team, which I saw every day, which were helping me deal with it,
Yeah.
talked a lot about one particular doctor, or I call her a witch because she was like, I don't know, she kind of connected with me emotionally and was also like more
There goes your camera.
understanding.
Your camera's
Sorry?
we're kind of losing your camera.
Yeah, let me fix it. Tape
Okay.
issue.
How are we going up there in the switch room, V? We're still rolling? Cool, because Hugh's going to be so angry with me if we weren't. Then we'd really be putting his politeness to the test.
No.
What's happening right now is if you see me messing with this microphone, 2 hands. Imagine having a camera on a stand, 1 hand, messing with that. That's what's happening here. But wow. So have you actually put a light up in the room too, Hugh?
I mean, it's just a lamp, but yeah.
Well, perfect.
I added a lamp because I knew that it would be not bright enough because I have some experience with Filmland.
Well, you do.
I've been worked with people who have experience. I don't have necessarily experience. Does that make sense?
Perfect. That looks perfect, man.
All right.
There you go. See, now just because you've had a near-death experience doesn't mean that you can let quality go to shit, does it?
Yeah, right. I mean, keep it together to your capacity. Also, it's okay to push yourself a little bit. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right? I guess.
What's the?
I mean, also. So I've got this pain book, which talks about like pain is just is all in your mind apparently, which is I totally understand. It's a bit harder to connect with that the closer you are to the injury, but the further you get away, for sure. And also, I don't want to be on morphine forever. Like, can you see how my pupil is like that really small?
Yeah.
How is it? That's
well, you are looking straight into a lamp.
Morphine. Sorry?
You are looking straight into a lamp, so that's not going to make your pupils any bigger. But you seem really quite lucid to me. You seem a little loose, but
well, yeah.
I mean, you're speaking more eloquently about anything I'd usually be able to talk about on a daily basis anyway. So
if you give like an endone pill to someone with no pain, it'll make them be like very relaxed and like really high.
Yeah.
But if you give someone an endone pill to someone who has a heap of pain, it won't do anything to them. You keep giving those endone pills to someone who's in a lot of pain, eventually you'll like get to the point where their pain is leveled or like dealt with. And that's kind of where I am. The pain is still kind of like just over the top, and I have like little pain events where the pain will pop out and be like, I'm still here, and I'll be like, holy crap, it does hurt. I'd say that like my pain goes down to like about a 3 or a 4 with the pills that I'm on, but it still blasts out to a 6 or a 7 regularly. But I have like extra pills to take care of that. But being on the morphine is like a very sludgy. I don't know. It's just not. I don't feel like myself as much. My emotions are like. I'm pretty good at being an emotionally like guarded person, but on the morphine, it's like they're in a fortress over there, and I have to like go and like rescue them when I want to access them, which is not nice. I don't want to be on these forever. It's like almost 2 months out from the injury now, and I obviously want to be off them, but I have another surgery coming up, so like I kind of need to get through the things I need to get through, and that probably involves them, unfortunately. But when I get to the point where I start winding them down, of course I will I'm all for that mind over matter stuff. Also, don't worry, THC, CBD, I have tried, I'm like all over it. I have some really good CBD oil, I found that the THC, smoking or eating, makes me have this weird like conversation with my pain, and I can see where it is in my arm.
Wow.
And it also just ends it incredibly. And like, yeah, it's a full spiritual experience taking the THC, but also it's not a pain remedy at all. So I know a lot of people want it, like people love recommending that, and don't worry, I'm all over it. But also, you know what, you can recommend anything to me, suggest anything. I have a friend who's given me homeopathic remedies. I'm taking them, I'm using them. I hear that acupuncture helps. I'm going to go do that. God damn, I'm going to do anything I can to heal. Like, I'm going to put them all together, man. I need all the help I can get. This thing's a mess.
Yeah.
I want it to be as good as possible. I want to like end up overcoming the doctor's prognoses. I'm going to heal much better than that. They're not going to tell me what to do and tell me that I'm going to have a claw ham for the rest of my life. And only 5 kilos of grip strength? No way. I mean, I have big dreams. And they, apart from like big dreams of making big sweet ass hearts, I have big dreams of like having a better healing than say I will.
Wow. That sounds like the perfect place to end having a chat, because I don't actually really know what to say after that. I think you've said it all, man.
Okay.
You know what'd be really cool? Can I check in with you in a month? See how you're going, see how you feel?
Yeah, for sure. I want to be able, like, this is what I'm showing you now. I want to be able to show you like this or something.
Okay. You flip me the bird in a month, we'll do it again.
Okay. All right.
I'm just going to sign off now. Hugh Burrell, absolute gracious fella under duress. I know I personally could carry myself a little more like that when shit hits the fan. Thanks, man.
All right. See ya.
See ya.